Hi guys, it's Miss Carpenter. I'm going to be going over lesson 7 from your Language Arts Handbook. You can find it on pages 476 and 477, and our topic is going to be on run-on sentences. Now our lesson for this is L41F, which means you can produce a complete sentence. You can recognize and correct inappropriate sentences, which in this point case is a run-on sentence. All right. Now we'll start here with our lesson. It says, you know that a sentence is a group of words that tells a complete thought. A run-on sentence is two or more sentences that run together with a comma between them or no punctuation at all. Now, if you use a comma between them when you don't really need it, it's called a comma splice. Okay? All right, now, and I kind of call these sentences train wrecks because think of a sentence as being a group of trains, and when they run together, it causes a train wreck. So that's kind of how some of the words I use in my classroom. Now, the first two sentences we're going to look on. Now, they have already been labeled as run on, but let's find out what is wrong with these sentences. First one says, Julia is always helping other people. She hardly has time for herself. Yes, this is a run-on sentence, and if you'll notice here, they didn't use punctuation at all because if you'll notice, Julia is your subject, is is your verb, your other subject would be she, and has would be your other verb. So here we have a subject, a verb, and another subject and verb, but we don't have any punctuation here in the middle to separate them into their two individual sentences. Now let's look at the next sentence. The next sentence says, she tutors kids after school, comma, she volunteers at a food pantry on weekends. Now again, we have another subject, which is she. We have tutors, which is our verb. We have another she over here in our second part of our sentence, and then we have another verb. But if you'll notice, we have a comma here. But anytime we use a subject, predicate, and another subject and predicate, we put them in what's called a compound sentence. And if we use a compound sentence, we need to have a comma, but after that comma, we need to have a conjunction. Now, the conjunctions that we're most used to are what, remember our word fanboy? And we'll see if I can write, here it is, fanboy. All right, that's our acronym that helps us remember our different coordinating conjunctions. And it would be F for, A for and, N for nor, B for but, O for or, Y for yet, and S for so. And if you'll notice, one of these conjunctions would fit good right in there. She tutors kids after school, comma, and she volunteers at a food pantry on weekends. So we could have easily put and there. There are other items that we could do there too. We could put a semicolon. We could change that comma to a semicolon. Or we could do what a lot, we could change that comma to a period and then capitalize that she, and then we would turn these into two simple sentences rather than a compound sentence. Okay, now I have a couple other examples that we're going to go over. Now, our first one says, Brenda and I are great friends. We like the same things. Now, this you may relate to this sentence. You might have some friends that you're alike, and you like to both play soccer, or you both like to do dance or different things. And so, let's uh, let's look at the different way. Let's first of all let's find out what is wrong with this sentence, and then let's look at the different ways that we could correct the sentence. Now, first of all, let's find our subject. Our subject is going to be Brenda and I. Okay, that's our first subject. Now, our verb is going to be are, so we're going to underline it twice. Now, let's go down to here. Brenda and I are great friends. I believe we see another subject here, so we're going to underline it. We refers back to Brenda and I, okay? And then we have another verb, like. So in this case, we have a subject, another predicate, we have a subject and another predicate, but the author of the sentence did not connect these sentences correctly. We either need to we need to add some punctuation here, or we need to add some words here in order to make it a complete sentence, because in this case, this sentence is a run-on sentence. It's a train wreck, and it got wrecked right around here, okay? Now, let's look at some ways that we could correct this sentence, okay? First of all, let's look at this first one. All right, the first one says same thing, Brenda and I are friends because we like the same things. Now, in this sentence, we added the conjunction because in there. Now, because is not one of our fanboys, it's what we would call subordinating conjunction. All right, now our next way that we could correct the sentence, Brenda and I are friends, comma, for we like the same things. We added the coordinating conjunction for behind that comma. All right, the next example we have, Brenda and I are friends, semicolon, we like the same things. And then the last way that we correct this sentence is we just add a period behind friends, but we capitalize we, and we change these to two simple sentences rather than a complex sentence, a compound sentence, a compound sentence. So in this case, we would separate them into two simple sentences. Okay? Now, one more example that we're going to go over before we do the rest of our lesson is this one. We both love birds. We often watch them. Now, if you'll notice, this sentence right here has a comma in it, but there's no conjunction after it. There's no fanboy, okay? So we need to do something to this sentence in order to make it correct, because it's where it stands right now. It is a run-on sentence because it's got a comma splice. I call it when the sentences have been fruit ninja. Those of you who like to play that game, Fruit Ninja, on your phones, I call it here, it's been fruit ninja. Okay, now let's look at some ways. Oops, that looks terrible. Just a second. All right, let me get that zoomed out a little bit. Is it not going to work? There we go. It comes back. All right, now here's the ways we could correct these sentences. Now you'll notice some of the ways are very similar. The first one we're going to start off with the two simple sentences. We both love birds, period. And then we put a period there and we capitalized our second subject. We often watch them. Again, simple sentence, simple sentence. Now this sentence down here, we both love birds, semicolon, we often watch them. This is a compound sentence, but it uses a semicolon to connect them, and it would no longer be a run-on sentence. All right, the next one, we both love birds and often watch them. Now, in order to make this a sentence, we took out that second subject, and we took out, added the word and we took out that second subject, we, and then again, it just made it a simple sentence, but it has a compound predicate. Now, our last way that we could correct this one is we used a compound sentence, and it says, we both love birds, comma, so we often watch them. We had left our comma there, but we added a coordinating conjunction behind that comma. So now we have a subject, predicate, comma, conjunction, and another subject and predicate. Now all of these examples would be grammatically correct, and you would be able to say that you could produce a complete sentence. Now let's look at our book lessons. All right, now let's look down at here, our guided practice. Now before we go any farther, let's read the hint. You know, we always got to read the hints. There's lots of helpful advice in those hints. Okay? When you use the conjunction, remember conjunction is where two places meet. All right? If you haven't watched it on YouTube, there's Conjunction Junction by Schoolhouse Rock, and it talks about using some of these conjunctions. That'd be a great one to watch after this video. When you use the conjunction and, or, so, or but to combine, which means to put together, two sentences, put a comma before the conjunction. Do not use a comma before the conjunction because. Now that would make it a run-on sentence if you used it before because. Now let's look at our guided practice here. It says read each sentence. Write R for run-on sentence or C for correct. Fix the run-on sentences by adding a conjunction or by dividing the thoughts into two sentences. Let's look at sentence number one. My friends and I want to have a party for Julia's birthday. Now, we'll notice this sentence has a subject, okay, and it has a predicate. All right, so now our next question is, does it have another subject and predicate? And if you said no, you would be correct. So this would just be a simple sentence, and it is correct. Now let's look at number 2, though. We hope to keep it a surprise. We will have to be careful. Now, in this sentence, we have a subject. Hope to keep it surprise is our predicate. We have a comma. We have another subject, and we have another predicate. But you remember, if we have a subject, predicate, and another subject and predicate, we have to combine it with a comma and a conjunction, or we can put a semicolon there, or we can divide it into the 2 separate sentences by making that into an ending punctuation and capitalizing the next word. Now, in this case, all right, so this is kind of a cause and effect relationship. We hope to keep it a surprise, comma, so we will have to be careful. They're going to have to be careful in order to keep it a surprise. So this is a cause and effect relationship. So when you rewrote this sentence, if you put so after the comma, we hope to keep it a surprise, comma, so we will have to be careful. Now, that is a great compound sentence. We have a subject, we have a predicate, we have another comma and a conjunction, and another subject and predicate. So now that sentence would be grammatically correct. Let's look at number 3. The party will be at Stella's house. Her parents will help. Okay, let's find our subjects and predicates. The party is going to be our subject. Will be at Stella's house will be a predicate. All right, her parents is another subject, and then will help is another predicate. So in this case, again, we have a subject and a predicate and another subject and predicate, but we don't have anything in the middle combining these 2 sentences. So yes, this would be a run-on sentence. So what can we do to correct these 2 sentences into one sentence? Okay, so first of all, we'll start by rewriting the first part. The party will be at Stella's house. Okay, and we've got to decide here. Do we want to simplify and just do the party will be at Stella's house, period? Capitalize her, parents will help. You could do that. That could be one of the examples you could use. The party will be at Stella's house. You could put a semicolon. Her parents will help. Okay? Or you could say the party will be at Stella's house, comma, and in this case, we could put and. We like to use and. It's one of those words that gets worn out. And her parents will help. Okay? Any of these ways that we talked about would help correct these sentences and change it from a run-on sentence to a complete sentence. Okay, now let's look at example number 4. Stella will invite Julia over for a nice lunch that day. Okay, let's find our subject. Stella. All right, what did Stella do? She will invite Julia over for a nice lunch that day. Now, does that have a subject, a predicate, and another subject and predicate out here? No. So in this case, this sentence would be correct, and we don't need to do anything to it to make it any better. Okay, now let's move over to page 477, and we're going to look at a little bit of practice here. There are just 4 questions. Now, our first directions say, always read those directions. Don't take for granted that you know what those directions are going to say. I know we like to do that, but let's remember, let's take our time. For numbers 1 and 2, which choice is a run-on sentence? Boys and girls, is. That means you're trying to find the sentence that is wrong. Okay, that is a train wreck. Remember, a train wreck. Somebody ran that stop sign and you had a collision. So let's look at choice A. My friends and I admire Julia, comma, but we worry about how busy she is. Now, that sentence is correct, so it wouldn't be a run-on. All right, let's look at choice B. She doesn't have time for sports or movies. Okay, we have a subject and we have one predicate. So that one, choice B, would not be a run on sentence. Let's look at choice C. Donica and I, there's a subject, decided that we could help Julia. There's your predicate, comma. That comma's just sticking there. Let's see if it has anything else behind it. We could take turns tutoring after school. Now, here's our another subject. So we have a subject, a predicate, and another subject and predicate, but we only have a comma here. So we really need to do something to make the sentence correct. Again, we could put a semicolon there. We could put a period there and capitalize we. We could add a conjunction there. So that one is our run-on sentence. So choice C would be your correct answer there. But let's still read choice D. I could tutor on Tuesdays and Donica could tutor on Thursdays. Subject, predicate, comma, conjunction. That's another subject and a predicate. So that one would not be a run-on. All right, let's look at choice 2. In question 2, it says Julia could not tutor on Mondays. There is no tutoring on Fridays. Julia, here's a subject, could still tutor on Mondays. That's a predicate, comma. We have another subject. We have another predicate. Seems like we're missing something right here. So I would call this one a train wreck. So that one would be our run-on sentence. So that would be our correct answer there. But let's go look at these other examples just because they're good examples of correct sentences. Julia needs a break so she can have more time to see friends. Donica and I will talk to Julia and ask for her opinion. And then D, we know that she enjoys her volunteer work and we don't want her to stop doing it. All of those would be examples of complete sentences. Now let's look over here at questions 3 and 4. Now the directions here changed. Look at these bold print up here. The directions changed. It says for numbers 3 and 4, what is the best way to fix each run-on sentence? So now we got to be the fixer. We got to go do the one. We got to go correct them. Okay. So let's look at number 3. Julia agreed to our plan. She was happy to have the help. Julia is our subject. Agreed to our plan is our predicate. Okay, another subject and predicate. We have another she. She is a subject. Was happy to have her help. There's another predicate. So we know we're missing something somewhere behind that first sentence. Subject, predicate, subject, predicate. So we need something right there behind that first sentence. So let's look at our first choice A. Julia agreed to our plan, comma, she, comma, was happy to have the help. Now, they did add a comma in there, but if you'll notice, they added another she. This is actually 2 comma splices, and we don't like comma splices, okay? We need to stay away from comma splices. All right, let's look at choice B. So A would not be it. Let's look at B. She agreed to our plan, period. She was happy to have the help. Now, they took that sentence, but they put a period behind plan. That would be a good way to fix that sentence. Okay, they changed it to instead of a compound sentence, they used 2 simple sentences. Okay, let's look at C. Julia agreed to our plan, comma, she was happy to have the help. Same sentence, but all they did was stick a comma back here. Again, that would be a comma splice. Okay, and remember, we need to stay away from those comma splices. All right, let's look at choice D. Julia agreed to our plan, comma, capitalized the she this time, was happy to have the help. If you'll notice, choice D and C are exactly alike, except they capitalized she here, and that didn't make it any more correct. This is still a run-on sentence that's got a comma splice in it. Okay, so we go back to B would be our correct answer there because it's the best way of our choices here. There's other ways to fix it. This is just of the choices they gave us. This would be the best way to fix it in these examples. All right, now we have our last answer question down here. I enjoyed tutoring. I decided to sign up for more days. Okay, let's find our subjects and predicates. I is our first subject. Enjoyed tutoring is our predicate. I, another subject, decided to sign up for more days. There's another predicate. So again, we have a subject, a predicate, another subject and predicate, but we didn't put anything behind that first sentence. So let's go see which one of these ways best corrects this sentence. I enjoyed tutoring, comma, I decided to sign up for more days. Again, all they did here was added a comma. Don't just add a comma to make it correct. If you add that comma many times, you're going to need a conjunction. If you add a conjunction here, you would have to have a comma in front of it, unless you used a subordinating conjunction. Now let's look at letter B. I enjoyed tutoring, but, comma, I decided to sign up for more days. Okay, now in this case, you could have done this, but that comma needed to be in front of the conjunction instead of behind it. Okay, now let's look at letter C. And really, that conjunction but really does not fit into this sentence context wise. But's kind of being an opposite. In this case, one thing is leading to another thing, kind of like a sequence. But it's kind of like an opposite, and really there's nothing opposite here happening. Now let's look at choice C. I enjoyed tutoring, comma, so I decided to sign up for more days. Again, we have the sequence word so it tells us one thing caused another thing to happen. Our conjunction is in front of the fanboy. So yeah, this sentence does look pretty correct, but let's still go look at choice D before we give our final answer. I enjoyed tutoring and, comma, I decided to sign up for more days. Now in this case, and would have fit, and would have been a good conjunction that you could use here, but we needed to put that comma in front of your conjunction, not behind it. Okay? Now, if you have any more questions about run-on sentences, do not hesitate to ask your teachers. We're here for you. If you will look on the school website on week 4, helpful web links, we have supplied many more videos that will help you with run-on sentences. And please check those out. And if we can help you in any way, please let us know. Okay? Now, that's all I have for today. I'll be back tomorrow with a lesson 8 on commonly confused words. Okay? Bye, guys. Hope you have a great rest of the day.